Welcome everyone to CDO's Magazine series of one-on-one interviews with CDOs, data leaders, and key influencers. I'm your host, Robert Lutton, Vice President of Sandhill Consultants, and I'm coming to you today from Toronto, Canada, working with the CDO Magazine. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Shashank Dubey, who is a co-founder and Chief Revenue Officer at Tredence. Welcome, Shashank.
Thank you, Robert. Good to be here, and congratulations on building such a great platform.
When it comes to AI initiatives, particularly, around the last mile, measuring success, we talked about it at the beginning of time to value, measuring success on ROI can be challenging.
Yeah.
Sometimes people go, well, if it didn't increase my revenue by X percent, then it was a failure. But do you have measures or metrics or indicators that you believe clients should be looking towards to demonstrate value in their initiatives?
No, absolutely. And I think so also, and that's a great question, right? That is where the actual measurement happens, right? And we have identified a couple of things. Number one, there is a top line value and there's a bottom line value.
Yep.
Right. And those are two very, very different dynamics, right? When we talk to our customers and what we've seen in the practice, right? Using data science and AI ML to reduce cost is significantly more attributable and very easy to measure, right? Using AI ML to increase revenue, right, is often results in an attribution problem. I'll give an example of that. I mean, say, you know what, we help you acquire more customers. But you know what? While we were building the algorithm, there was a marketing spend that was happening. There was a sales spend that was happening. There were 10 other things that are going on in trying to acquire those customers. Now, how do I know that this customer acquisition model I built, how did that attribute into this larger scheme of things? Right? There's always that challenge that happens, right? Our biggest strength in those cases, Robert, is the CFO of the organization, right? So when we think about building our solutions, getting the sponsor, we think the CTO, the CIO, the head of supply chain, the head of pricing, the head of merchandising, right? But when we think about establishing the true value measurement of what we have done, right? We always think the CFO, right? I'll give you an example, right, of one of our leading manufacturers, right? Actually in the world, right? And we have been working with them, I'll say last 2 years, and we have demonstrated about $50 to $60 million of cost saving in 6 months of last year alone, right? And this saving has been certified by the chief financial officer of their organization, right? We are looking at $30 to $40 million of saving from wastage, right? Which is projected to about $50 million for the full year, right? Huge saving. And why did that happen? Because we built an AI ML solution, right, where we can move the inventory based on the perishability and based on the demand forecast to the right distribution centers, right, so that they can be shipped to the shelf faster, right? Complex solution, right? But it eventually helps in $50 million of projected wastage saved, right? Certified by the CFO, right? So I think a lot, and there are many other things, right? We have reduced the cost of inventory. We have improved the on-time in full delivery. We have reduced the cost of shipping and transformation, shipping, logistics, and transportation. Things like that. But I think, in a nutshell, what we really see, right, is that partnering with the CFO or organization is very critical to gain the unbiased sponsorship and support, right, in terms of how we are moving the needle, right? And we need to be a lot more cautious and a lot more, I would say, fine-grained when we are looking at measuring the top line revenue impact versus the bottom line cost impact, right? They're just two very different things.
Yeah. No, I do appreciate the difference between the two. I think that a lot of organizations find it difficult to measure when all the different campaigns are going out there. But I did like the fact that your partnership with the CFO is definitely going to help you solidify those savings across your organization. So just moving on, last couple of points with the increase of sustainability. A lot of organizations talking about sustainability. How can they improve sustainability? From your point of view, how does Atom AI, or how do you see AI solutions in general solving this in the last mile problem?
So I think sustainability has been a pertinent topic, right, for most of our customers focused on industrial manufacturing,
Sure.
right? And in very soon, in next 2 to 3 years, the cost of not doing sustainability will become a major burden on the balance sheets and the P&L of some of the biggest corporations in the world, right?
Yeah.
So what we have started doing, Robert, is we have been working with the CIOs and the CDOs, the Chief Digital Transformation Organizations as well, who are some of the largest manufacturers in the world, right? In solving the problem of visibility first, right?
Right.
Because right now sustainability is a lot of talk, right? There is deforestation and all of those good things
Sure.
happening, right? But for a $100 billion organization, the important metric is, how do I even measure my sustainability initiatives, right? In a well governed, predictable manner, and how can those KPIs be designed in a way, right, that I can invest a lot more and know how to create benefit, reduce fines, right, and become a more corporate social responsible company,
Yeah.
right? What has also started happening, Robert, is that many more progressive companies have started using sustainability to attract the modern consumers, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
for them it matters, right? For the
It
modern
does. Yeah.
consumers, it matters, right? And that is where we're also helping them in saying that, okay, how should a credible sustainability story look like, right? So in a nutshell, if I will summarize, right, a lot of work that we do today, working with these digital transformation and CIO and CP organizations, is to build a data-driven visibility, right? Identifying the right KPIs so that they can actually report out the metric, self-track, and report to the street as to how the sustainability organizations are going on, right? Looking at scope 2, scope 3 guidelines and all of that, right? And then we're also helping them understand that sustainability is not just a
Buzzword. It's not a buzzword.
CSR initiative.
Yeah.
Sustainability, when done well, can actually become a competitive advantage in helping you acquire more customers, right? And that's a kind of mind shift that we're trying to navigate. We are maybe on day zero or day one of that. So I don't want to paint a picture, but the journey started now, right?
Yeah. No, I like that, and I do like the fact that you kind of create the visibility and you define the measurements and the KPI helps the organization gain credibility. So just this is a kind of segment where you're looking ahead about emerging trends. In this day and age, things change so fast, right? And we see the acceleration curve just continue to go exponentially with AI. But maybe within the next 6 months, a year, do you see any kind of emerging trends of technologies that you believe will help shape the future of AI in the enterprise, particularly related to the last mile problem?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'll take an example. I was in Europe, visiting one of the CTOs, of a very large industrial manufacturer, and this was, I think, last year, right? And it was around the time when we had a blockage, right, in the Suez Canal, right? If you remember, the ship
Yep,
that got
I
stuck,
remember. Yep,
right? Now that might sound like a small incident, but that basically crippled 20% of the global supply chain.
yep.
You know, and that remained crippled for a week, and the after effects went on for months altogether, right?
Yeah,
And
shipping is a major concern, obviously, with what's going on in the world today as well,
exactly,
right?
exactly,
It's a
right?
huge impact.
And yes, absolutely, huge impact, right? And then when this sudden spike happened, right, when this disruption happened, right, the organization, this is a huge organization, you're looking at 100 billion plus
Yep,
manufacturer here, right? The organization just did not know how to respond to this disruption as one entity,
right.
right? And just to understand, and I'll take a very simple example, right? See, if I'm walking the road, right, and if I, have, let's say, I get, I have a thorn, that hits my ankle, right? My
Sure,
entire body knows that immediately,
sure.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it reacts as one common whole, right? what happened in this case? When the supply chain got disrupted, the factories started producing something else, right? The sales guys started selling something else.
Right.
There are some places where you have overstocking, some places where understocking, right? The price managers started taking pricing decisions on their own, right, to preserve or push the inventory,
Right.
and all of these different actors, right, were working in their own silo.
Right.
So now what you're looking at is a disconnected organization, right, which is not behaving as one common system responding to an external disruption, right? And that's a big problem, Robert, right?
Sure. I mean, you can visualize that. You go from a cohesive strategy to an uncohesive strategy. Everyone fighting for their own little fiefdoms, right? It's a big issue.
Yes, and I think in the world in which we are in, and the world that continues to be in the future, right?
Yep.
We have to build a resilient business model which can deal with these disruptions, right? Geopolitical risks, yeah, sustainability risks. There is this whole COVID type risk that may happen again, right? There are supply chain risks that are coming in. Global warming is adding a lot of cost, right? So I think there is a mind shift that needs to happen, where we need to transition a little bit from the lean manufacturing of Toyota, right? You need to start building a system which is resilient to shocks, right? And that's a very different philosophy, and that's a new world in which we live today, right? And as you start building the resilient organizations, it is very important that your underlying data architectures, data structures, AI, ML, the decision making applications, they're interconnected, right? So that you can build an enterprise brain, right? Which can work as one wholesome unit to drive a wholesome and optimal response to external disruptions. Because that's going to be the way of the world going forward.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to see these trends die down anytime soon.
Mhm.
A final question, just on the last couple of minutes, Shashank, and I really appreciate your insights. As data leaders and CDOs look to tackle these last mile problems within organizations, what advice would you give them based upon your experiences and success at Tredence?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that probably we would recommend, right, using our view of the industry, is that, see, data, assets are not they should not be treated as a cost center. They should be revenue centers,
Right.
right? And some of the most progressive CDOs are actually creating the internal data marketplace,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Where the business users, right, actually do a notional transfer price of payment to the data assets that the CDO is creating and making available, right? Now, in order to get there, it is important to understand that paradigm is no longer just to have the clean data, right? Because, yeah, you have source systems, the ERP systems, and all of that.
Sure.
Can take the data out, clean it, and all of that, right? But then you need to move to the next step. The next step is to take all of that clean data and start building domain data sets, right? So you may have a product domain, you may have a supply chain domain, you have a finance domain, right? And that becomes the shared domain data sets, which is across multiple business lines and all of that, right? But the story doesn't end over there. What your business users really want are specific data sets which cater to specific problem statements, right? We talked about supply chain disruption, right? Let's say, just being able to have an end-to-end visibility of your inventory, right? Be it on the shelf, in the distribution center, in the warehouse, or on the road, right? If you want to build that end-to-end visibility, right, then the data asset should have a combination of what you see on the supply chain, what you see in the factory, what you see in the distribution center, and all of that, right? So being able to build those specific curated data sets, right, that is where the true value is, right? Business users would want to see more and more of those curated data sets from those CDOs, right? And when the CDOs are able to build those curated data sets, that is when they can actually build the internal data marketplace and change the conversation from the cost to the internal revenue realization, right? And change the nature of the data from being a cost center to a revenue center and a true enabler of the business.
And change those insights into actual actions.
Absolutely, yes.
Shashank, on behalf of CDO Magazine, We definitely appreciate your time, your knowledge and expertise. We hope that we can have a chance to have you come back and again share your knowledge on what's going on with Tredence and how you can actually leverage the Atom AI for the betterment of organizations around the world.
Absolutely, Robert. And I want to thank you again and for inviting me onto this forum. And I want to congratulate again on the continued success of the audience and credibility that you have built through this great platform. Thank you for that.
Excellent. Thank you, Shashank. And for our listeners, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Thank you.
Thank you.